This is Joe Peters with MomFit. Welcome to the Sunday Show Network, the network of Sunday Show Please remember to download the Sunday Show app in the respective app store in iOS and Android. While you are downloading, make sure that you rate and the app is free. Sunday is also available on Google Podcasts, Amazon Fire TV Stick, Roku, and Roku Stick in all more today's episode. Welcome to this episode of MomFit. Today we are going to be having a lot of fun. We are going to be going deep into how we as moms can balance out the proactive and being prepared and train and do what we need for getting ready to thrive on um, our amazing journey as a mom and still being able to get balance and not overwhelmed. And one of the things that I'm been hearing more and more and more from moms around the world is the issue of nobody told me about this. I didn't knew about this. This was a surprise. And one of the things that I want you to know is I want you to know two things. The first one is even when other people tell you about these things while you are pregnant, you are doing so much and you are preparing that there is something that is called the brain filter. And the brain filter is a survival mechanism that we use, all of us, not only when we are pregnant, all of us use that to not get completely burned and overwhelmed with all the information that we receive. So our eyes, our senses, our ears, our eyes, our scent, our skin, we are receiving information and input all the time. But our brain cannot process all that information all the time. So we have that brain filter where the brain, depending on past history and what is currently happening, the brain filter what it wants to see and what it can be processed, and the rest of the information go directly into the subconscious, go directly out of in a detour to not pass through your conscious processing of knowledge. One of the best examples that I have for you today is, I don't know if this ever happened to you, but it happened to me a lot when I choose to get a car or when I choose to get a new pair, a new brand of shoes. Then suddenly I start seeing that all the time when I'm driving, when I'm in a mall, when I'm in a parking lot. I'm like, wow. It happened to me when we were in 2020. My years are getting mixed. 2020, we decided that we were going to upgrade my husband Chevrolet Impala. That was a car for a bigger 7-passenger SUV in preparation for Elliot to be born. And we searched for a lot of them. Excuse me. And then the one that we liked the most was at Volkswagen uh, Atlas. And I'm kidding you not. The second that we choose that is the car that we wanted, we start seeing that Atlas everywhere in the streets, in the parking lots, everywhere. We never saw that car before. Like, I don't even remember seeing that car before we went to the car dealer. That is brain filter. Because before, my brain knew that that car was not important for me. So even if they were around me, my brain was like, this is information that we don't need. It's not important for us. It's not triggering a flag. So we just send it to the detour, send it to the detour. As soon as I choose um, mentally to actually get the car, then my brain was like, oh, we are going to get that car. Now that brand of car is very important. And then I suddenly start noticing that. Why I'm telling you that analogy? Because I get a lot of anger too in the fourth trimester when I was like, nobody told me about this.
But then I have a couple of friends that remind me, yes, I actually share a little bit about this, and it get caught that I was like, okay, this was not in my radar, in my data, in my importance. So my brain filter just take it to the detour and didn't let it process properly. So that is the first thing that I want you to know. If you are pregnant, if you're in the fourth trimester, is that we need to work with our filter to make sure from others, and then learn from the lessons of others, and take away that burden that we have, that everything that we learn needs to happen from our own experience and what we are learning by ourselves. Okay. And then the second one is, and I know that we talk about this a little bit in a couple of episodes before, and that is the changes that we make and the level of stress and cortisol that our body produce in the fourth trimester is higher than we probably will ever experience again. Actually, there is a research that shows that the amount of pressure that your body goes through when you are giving birth is equivalent to you for you to break a couple of bones at the same time. Why I'm telling you all this, not to scare you, but to also let you know that one of my hypotheses and one of the things that I've been doing some research and I really believe is a common denominator is our brain, in order to protect humanity and humanity to keep existing, our brain tends to switch off some of those challenging times on the first in the first 4 months in the fourth trimester, so that moms will want to have babies again. Actually, I will give you a challenge and see if you ask any new mom of a newborn in the first couple of months if they want another baby, the vast majority of them are going to say like, no, I'm done. And then if you ask that mom 6, 8, 9 months later, then that mom is going to say, yeah, I will. And it's because that brain does that change. So the other reason why sometimes we don't hear about some of those challenges to be prepared is not because people don't care about us. It's not because people is hiding those for us. It's because some of those moms just don't consciously remember those details. The brain is designed to overcome those details and flow the brain and the memories with the beautiful memories of the smell of the baby and the giggles and the nice things that could happen to them. So, what we can do, and we're going to be talking about what are some of those things that nobody told me about and how we can be more prepared for them. So, the first one is that as more you get around a circle of support moms that are, and then this is something that is very important, something that I love about my MomFit community, and that is, I know that there is a big deal with some apps that is people for with moms from the same month. They are all together in the same month, and even when that had a lot of benefits, I found myself that having moms in a range of stage is a lot more helpful. Why? Because if we are all if all the moms that you are connecting with, that you are working with, that you are uh, having as your support system, all are around the same month or two of your baby, you all are going through the same at the same time. Versus if you have a range, like I'm not telling you, you as a new mom and then a mom of a 3 year old or a 5 year old, but if you are pregnant and then you are in a group with a mom that already have their baby as a newborn, and you have a mom that had the baby at 3 or 4 or 5 months, then the support is going to be a lot more deeper, not only for the brainstorm, but also because they're going to start sharing what it helped, what it didn't help. And also, you are going to take advantage of that period of time where your brain did not make you forget about some of those details. So, some of those mamas are going to be sharing and organizing. So, one of the best advice that I will give you is try to find a tribe, try to find a community of moms that are waiting, I will say, between pregnancy and newborn around 6 to 8 months range. So you can have that extra support, that extra thing. One of the things that I love about my MomFit community is that is we have our newest mom is only like 13 weeks pregnant, and then the moms that had the biggest babies had their babies with 5 months old. So they all are supporting, brainstorming, sharing what they want, what they need, what is happening, what is being a reality for them. So that is the first one. Then the second one is, and this is a little controversial because society is being putting a lot of pressure into what is natural. And I will tell you a bit about my story with that. And that's, don't don't assume that anything in your journey is going to be natural by just flow. A lot of things will happen. But my advice after my own experience and helping a lot of moms doing this is, you do not know what part is going to be very easy and very natural and what part you're going to be having a challenge. As an engineer, one of the things that I am very good at and that I learned to do is flip from the reactive to the proactive. How you do that? If you are assuming that everything is going to be natural, if you're assuming that everything is going to just flow, and then you get to birth, you get to the fourth trimester, and things are not going as you were expecting, then you are in a reactive mode. You are in a reactive place. And why that is dangerous? Because you are tired, because you are overwhelmed, because if you're a first time mom, you are scared, because if you're a first time mom, you are actually you are taking care of two newborns, your baby and you as a mom. So the amount of logical frontal cortex capacity that you have to analyze, find solutions, don't get overwhelmed, is going to be a lot less on that time. So my recommendation is go into the proactive and then make a list of all the things that you hear people talk about that will happen when you are a mom. So the baby sleep and your sleep deprivation, feeding the baby, breast, especially if you want to breastfeed, um, um, baby crying and baby with colics and baby with digestive issues, your hormone imbalances and hormonal moods. And I will tell you on each of them what happened in my own experience and what I see my moms to happen. And it's a lot of those, we assume what is going to happen. We assume that the baby's going to sleep and have to feed every 3 hours for a couple of weeks, months, and then I start sleeping more and more. We assume that I have my baby, I will put my baby in the breast, and then I will breastfeed. We assume that we will be able to, if we keep our baby clean, warm, fed, then our baby is going to be content and not crying. We assume all those things because in part, the only thing that we see, or the over 95% of the information that we receive from social media, from movies, from TVs, from friends that share, is that side. So we see babies sleeping, smiling, content, beautiful pictures of mom breastfeeding. So our subconscious, because we are a species that learn by replication and by seeing, as we see that, then our brain start assuming that that is what is happening, and the reality is that that is not what happened. We actually are seeing, we are only seeing the top of the iceberg of the reality, and then we very fast face our face against the wall, actually seeing that our iceberg is a lot bigger. And then we get into the trap of saying, and then even having some regret and some guilt into comparing why Their type of the iceberg is so nice and easy and smooth versus our entire iceberg. And what I want to tell you is you are not seeing the full iceberg of anybody else. I will say the only time that you will see the full iceberg is if you are lucky enough to have a very close friend or a very close family member that is getting pregnant very close to you and you are very into each other's experience and life, then and that time you can probably see it. And even then it's very hard because I will tell you something that my grandma taught me, and I want you to write it down because it's going to help you a lot. My grandma used to put her hand in front of us and in front of my mom and my dad, and she will say, children are like your hand fingers. There is not one that is exactly the same like the other one. And that has a lot to do with everything that we go through in the fourth trimester, with the breastfeeding, with the digestive colics, with the sleep. Because your baby is unique. Your baby had unique needs and wants and desires. So let's go and talk about those things that we say, I will love, I will like, and I will love if somebody told me about this. The first one is breastfeeding. I know we have been having a couple of guests talking about breastfeeding in this show, and we are going to keep talking about this because this is probably one of the most important things, in my opinion, that requires light and comfort and wisdom. One of the things is breastfeeding. The first thing is breastfeeding is a team work. I want you to write that down. Breastfeeding is a teamwork. It requires two. Why that is important? Because we as moms put all our pressure, all the pressure in our shoulders. Is my job feeding my baby? Is my job breastfeeding? And a lot of times we don't understand that we are only doing half of the job. We are actually making the part of the job of making the food, preparing the food, having the milk available. But our babies need to do the other half of the job. Why I'm telling you that? Because more and more and more I'm seeing moms that are struggling with their breastfeeding journey and later on discover that their children had oral ties. What are oral ties for all of you mamas that are hearing me and you are like, oh my God, I need to write this down? Oral ties are some of our babies get born with the tissue that tie their lips up and bottom and the tissue that tie their tongue, this over here, too close. So because it's too close, then they don't have the full movement of their lips and of their tongue to extract the milk efficiently. Why that is a problem? Because a couple of things. Remember what I was sharing with you and what I share in my social media with my reels on breast milk. Your milk take up to 12 to 16 weeks to get stable. On those first 12 to 16 weeks, a lot of what your body's doing is working together with your baby to understand how much milk your baby needs. And if your baby, because of those oral restrictions, is not able to suck enough milk, then he's not taking enough milk from your breast is understanding we don't need more milk because what we are producing is not being completely empty. So your breast milk can start getting low. So one of the tips I want you to write it down is I want you to have that as one of the things that you check like within the first week. If you start your journey breastfeeding in the hospital and after 2 or 3 or 4 days things are not going good, that is one of the things that I want you to do. And I want you to know that you need to go to a pediatric dentist, a ENT, because pediatricians don't have a lot of information about that part, so they could misdiagnose your baby. Lactation consultants, ICBLC, are a great resource. They cannot diagnose your baby, but they can check function of the suction and then suggest you to go and find an ENT or a pediatric dentist to check. I will tell you, Elliot had that. Elliot had lip, his top lip, and his tongue were tied, so he was not able to suck. What do you do with that? It's very simple. There are two procedures, and I will tell you what is my preferred procedure. The first procedure is the dentist will have some scissors and clip and cut the tissue. That is not my preferred procedure because it's with scissors. It's very old, and then I just think that's a little more painful, a little more of blood. So I'm not a fan of that one. And then the second one, that is the one that we did with Elliot, is with laser. So it literally, you go to the dentist office, they take the baby for 2 minutes. It's no more than that. They go with laser, they cut the tissue in the lip, in the tongue, and then after that the baby come in into your breast, start sucking. You need to, for 4 or 5 days, do some exercises in your baby's mouth to make sure that that tissue doesn't grow back. But then after that, your baby will have that full motion, and then will be a matter of your baby to relearning how to suck. Because one of the things that I want to tell you is your baby learned to suck when he was in the womb. He's been sucking and moving his mouth since he was in your belly. So after you finish that, then it start a process for your baby to start relearning how to suck and move the tongue and the lips with this new full range of motion. I'll tell you, we did that with Elliot when he was 6 weeks old, and it took around 6 weeks. It was not until like week 13 that we finally start seeing a lot of improvement in how he was sucking milk. Why I'm sharing that? Because that will be a big impact in your milk supply and your breast milk journey. So early detection of that is very important. And I want you to always think that breastfeeding is a teamwork. Part of that is you as a mama, part of that is your baby. And the oral ties are just the most common one, but there are other things that could impact your baby to be able to suck the milk properly. Now, from your side of the breast milk production, one of the things that I want you to know is, and I'm doing a lot of research and I'm doing a lot of digging into this. So this is as more I work with people, it's funny because we are having some connection issues. As more I work with people, as more I find that there is a trend there. So stay tuned. I'm going to keep doing research. I'm going to try to pair with some doctors and nurses to go deeper. But in my experience and the okay, so I will say if that works better, I'm gonna be changing my connection. So hopefully that will help. And so what I was saying. So with the breast milk, the trend. So what I've been seeing is all the information that we have is from doctors and medicine saying that your breast milk should come around day 3, day 5, and they have all the gaining weight of the baby and everything else based on that. And what I'm seeing is that now we are having a trend of older moms having babies, geriatric moms that are 35 and older. And what is being very interesting is the majority of those moms tend to have a delay in their milk production. They are not feeding that status quo of 3 to 5 days. We are actually seeing more like 7 to 10 days. And again, this is still a hypothesis that I'm researching and I am trying to prove. But what I'm seeing is more and more of those mamas have a longer period of time to the milk production, and that is creating a lot of stress. I will tell you my own experience. My milk didn't come until like day 10. Day 8 or day 10. But because everything is based on the 3 to 5 days, I had an additional stress thinking that something was wrong with me because my milk was not coming. One of my hypotheses is that as older we are, as more our body will take time to actually produce that milk. And then it makes sense because for the last 200 years, moms were having their babies very early, as early as 16 years old to 20, 25 years old. So that is the data that we have in medicine. Now we are going into this shift of trend when a lot of moms are having their babies later on life, 35, 40. And then it's important that you know that even if your milk doesn't come at day 3 or 5, that doesn't mean that your breast milk journey, your breastfeeding journey is done and that you need to immediately go to formula. I am not an ICBLC, but I've been doing a lot of research, especially with my own journey. And what I want you to write down is if you want to breastfeed, there is always an option and there is always a way. And that is something that I invite you to be very clear before you have your baby. I'm not saying that formula babies are not good, that formula is bad. Please, mama, I'm going to tell you that after. What I'm telling you is that is a very personal choice. And I want you to be empowered to make that choice. Not without with the eyes of judgment of what I should be doing or I should be breastfeeding, but with the eyes of paying attention to your heart and saying, okay, how important is this for me? Because if you say, okay, scale 0 to 100, breastfeeding is 95, 100% important, then that means that you are a mom that is important that had additional support so that if anything happened in the fourth trimester, you have the right support to make sure that that 100% priority is happening and then it's happening as soon as possible. Because one of the things that I've been seeing with moms is we wait and don't have the support as early as possible. And as more we wait, as more challenging is for us to adjust the breastfeeding journey. Because as more the baby had formula and had the bottle, as more challenging is for you to transfer that completely into breastfeeding. Now, if you say, for me, it's not a big deal, it's not important, it's 50% if happen good, if doesn't happen good, or you are like, you know what, I do not want to breastfeed, then fantastic. My goal here is that when you are pregnant, you get to that point of understanding what is important for you so that you have the right support. Now, going back into the moms, because they're not all the moms choose this, but the moms that choose that breastfeeding is 95 to 100% important in their journey. Two things that I want you to know. This is something that helped me immensely in my own journey when my baby was not gaining weight and I was stressed. Your baby, let me go back. Your baby is born. And then because your baby had a lot of fluids and things when it's born, still from your belly, your baby tend to lose weight for a couple of days. Also because is when your milk is coming in, so your baby's eating a little less. And then after a couple of days, when your milk start coming up, the baby weight needs to come back up to the birth weight and then keep going up. They can go down up to 10% without worry. When they are dropping more than 10%, then the doctors start getting worried because it's a lot out of change for a tiny little human. My baby dropped almost 11%. And one of the things that helped me a lot was I had the beautiful support of an amazing ICBLC. And in one of the nights that I was crying and overwhelmed and I was feeling bad about it, she looked at me and said, I want you to remember two rules. And I want you to remember these two rules too, mama. Especially if you are 100% or 95 to 100% in the priority of breastfeeding your baby. Your your first priority is feed the baby. Priority number one is feed the baby. We need to work together to figure out a way to feed the baby. Priority number two, protect your meal supply. And that is where, if you don't have the right support, number two can be where you get issues, because sometimes the pediatricians and the medical team is so worried about number one rule, that is feed the baby, that they just fix that and say, okay, let's gonna give the baby formula, let's gonna give the baby this, and then we will fix the first issue, that is the baby's not gaining weight. But if you don't have a strong plan for you to protect your meal supply, for you to keep improving and keep activating your mammalian glands and keep sending the body the message that need to keep producing, then your milk production is not going to go up to the level that needs to be for you to be able to breastfeed your baby completely. I will tell you what happened in my case. The baby was not gaining weight, and this is something else that is very important. It's very important that you are aware of how much milk your baby needs in the first 2 weeks to 4 weeks of life, because going back into the social media and the videos and Walmart, Hallmark and movies, we always see these babies having these big bottles, and then we see moms pumping this much milk. And the reality is, in the first 2 weeks, your baby don't need more than half an ounce. And I don't have enough time to tell you, like, your baby's going to start growing. His stomach is going to start growing every day a little bit. So the first day, they only need like 2 tablespoons or 2 teaspoons. Then the second day, they need a little bit more. They need a little more until like around a week, they will need around an ounce of milk per feeding. And why that is important? Because it's important that you know that. So first, you don't put additional pressure on you. Second one, so you can actually balance out how much supplementation you are giving your baby. Why I'm telling you that? Why I'm telling you that that is important? Because, for example, if your baby is, what happened with Elliot, we start doing all this work around day 5, around when Elliot was around day 5. Then what we decided to do was that we had to supplement with formula, and we supplement with formula only with 1 ounce or 30 milliliters. So he had enough there, and then it was not his entire meal. He still have to do breast to finish up. So we keep stimulating that part. Make sense? So, hello, how are you? So happy to have you here. Let's meet in the middle. I love that. Um, so one of the things that I will invite you to do there is have a support system. No, feed the baby, protect your meal supply, and know that if you're having a challenging time the first week, first 2 weeks, please, if it's important for you, don't give up. I'm not telling you to do something to the ground, but I am asking you to make sure that you are supporting yourself, um, that you are supporting yourself to be successful. Why? Because remember, your breast milk is going to be taking up to 12 to 15 weeks to settle. So even if you have a really rough starting, you still have options to improve your breast milk. I'll tell you, with Elliot, we start with supplementing formula, we pump, we use a supplementing SNS supplementing system, and now we are up to 14 months of exclusively breastfeeding. So I just want you to know, this is one of the things that a lot of moms don't know. And then a lot of moms stop their breastfeeding journey because they don't have all this information. So if in the first 2 weeks things are not going like they thought that they should be, they just say, oh, breastfeeding, it was not for me, I will go into formula. If that is okay for you and that you feel good with that, for all meanings, mama, do it. But if you are doing that with sorrow and with sadness, and you are feeling that you want to breastfeed your baby, I also want you to know that there is another option for you, that is another way to help. So that about breastfeeding. Now, I was going to talk about sleep, because sleep is another one that is huge, and that is, and this is true for sleep. This is true for baby weight. This is true for milestone. This is true for everything. Everything that you hear in medicine and everything that you hear in studies are the results and data based on a normal distribution curve. That is a term from statistics that says that for somebody to tell you they have some results and some data, they need to have a statistical confirmation that what they are saying apply to the majority of the people. And why that happens is a almost like a bell curve. And what they are saying is, in the bell, based on that bell curve distribution, the majority of the babies sleep this much, the majority of the babies weigh this much. And I want to tell you this, I want you to make a bell curve and know this: in order for babies to be in the middle of the curve, then there had to be babies or situations that are on one edge of the curve and the other edge of the curve. What that means on terms of weight, for in order for babies to be in the 50 percentile, the majority of the babies weigh this much at this age. That means that has to be babies that are in the 1 percentile, that are tiny, tiny. They are the smallest babies. And also, they have to be babies that are in the 99 percentile, that are the bigger babies. I'm telling you that because sometimes we put a lot of pressure and we say, oh my God, my baby's in the 1 percentile. He's too tiny. In order for babies to be in the 50 percentile, has to have babies in the 1 percentile and has to have babies in the 99 percentile. The same with the sleep. When we say, okay, majority of the babies sleep, I need every 3 hours as a newborn. The majority of the babies sleep 4, 6 hours by the time that they are 3, 4 months old. They are something that is called sleep needs. And every baby has different sleep needs. They are babies, the majority of them are in that average. That is what you see normally. But then there are going to be babies that sleep a lot more in the edge of the curve. And there are going to be babies that need a lot less sleep in the other side of the curve. Why that is important? So you don't waste energy, frustration, and overwhelming trying to fix your baby with why your baby is not sleeping like everybody else. Like, I will tell you, mama, you are going to almost have a gamble with the sleep. It's almost like you roll your dice, and it's what you get. Actually, you will not believe how many of my mamas that had two or more kids are like, oh my God, my first kid was sleeping so good. He slept throughout the night since he was 3 months old. It was beautiful. So I get my second baby, and my second baby never sleep because it's not something that you could change. You as a mom can help your baby with the right environment, with the right stimulus, with the right support. You can help your baby to sleep better, but you cannot change your baby's sleep needs. And that one is a huge one for us mamas, because babies like my baby that had low sleep needs just wake up a lot at night, don't have long naps. And if you are in mama groups and if you are in social media, just reading and watching how these other mamas are saying, oh, my baby is sleeping throughout the night from 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. in the 8 weeks old or 12 weeks old, then you can feel overwhelmed. You can say, oh my God, what is wrong with my baby? My baby still is waking up every 2 hours, 3 hours. So when you understand that curve, and then a beautiful phrase that I'm using a lot this week, you let go and let God, then you realize that there is nothing that you could control there. That it just matters that your baby may have slower sleep needs than other babies, with one thing that I'm going to be very clear of. There are some red flags on baby sleep that you need to know and be aware of. And if your baby is having some of those red flags, then you need to talk with your pediatrician. But those red flags are more like your baby's waking up every hour, your baby's waking up every 45 minutes. So The first thing is make sure that you know those red flags. But if any of those red flags are triggering, then it's simply something as your baby had low sleep needs, and that is okay. It's hard for you and it's harder for you, but it is okay. The other one that I want to share with you, because nobody told you about this, and this happened to a mom that I know and love, one of my moms in my MomFit community. The first couple of weeks, especially the first 12 to 16 weeks, if you are having breastfeeding challenges, it's very important that you either feed or pump at least every 6 hours. Why I'm telling you this? Because, and this is a reason why I create MomFit as one place where you can have all the information. Because if you have somebody telling you, helping you with breast milk, but then you have somebody else helping you with like the baby in general, and then you said to that person, "Oh yeah, the baby is sleeping 8 hours, 9 hours," then some of them are going to be like, "Great, let them sleep. If he's gaining weight and you are feeling good, let them sleep. Rest, mama," because that is one of the biggest things that we need to do as moms in the fourth trimester is finding ways to rest, and that is a great advice unless you're having breast milk issues, because remember, your breast milk is a demand and offer. In the first 12 to 16 weeks, if you are spending more than 6 hours without emptying your breast, that is going to start sending the message to your body that you don't need more milk, that you are not needing enough milk. So my advice and my personal advice is, if you're not having breast milk issues and your baby is sleeping 8 hours and is gaining weight, enjoy the rest, mama. You are one of the lucky ones, and I am so happy for you. If you are having some breast milk issues like me, I want you to actually, even when it's tiring, even if the baby is sleeping, make sure that between 5 and 6 hours, you have two choices. You can wake up the baby and put him in the breast, or you can pump. What happened to me was I was not only having breast milk issues, but my baby was having issues gaining weight, a lot of weight. So I wake up my baby maximum at 5 hours, 5 hours and a half, put in the breast, eat, and then went back to sleep. Those are the kind of details that nobody told you, and they kind of start stacking upon each other. And a lot of these kind of start making a lot of difference in how your fourth trimester goes. Same with the sleep. Um, and the third one that I want to talk with you is the part of that. I know that there is so many moms that told me with tears, like, why nobody told me about this? There is something that is called the witching hour. There are so many theories about the witching hour. Witching, and I know that if my Colombian accent maybe is not being very clear with this word, witch, like the Halloween witch, it's called the witching hour. And that is, there is some specific trend which affects some babies, doesn't affect all the babies, but affects some babies, that is in the in the late afternoon, early evening. So anytime between 4 p.m. and 8 p.m., some babies start showing signs of distress and crying no matter what. Crying, 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 crying. And then that's what I was telling you earlier. Sometimes we have the concept and the thought that if our baby's fed, if our baby's clean, if our baby's warm, then our baby should be sleeping and should be happy. And that is where the witching hour come in. Sometimes our baby is fed, our baby is clean, our baby is warm, and our baby still is having that witching hour when he or she is crying and nothing that you do calm them down. I will give you two things for you to think about in that perspective. The first one is there is a lot of gas and a lot of movement in the digestive system because their digestive system is just maturing, because they were not able, like, if your baby is 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 2 months ago they were not digesting food, they were having all their nutrients through the umbilical cord, and that was it. So they are actually activating their digestive system as they go, and because of that sometimes that gas and that discomfort can happen. And one of the things that I'm also seeing a lot in these geriatric moms, older moms, is a lot of the times, a lot more often than in younger moms, their babies had some of that digestive discomfort. And I want to reassure you that that pass, that around, again, around week 12, 16, their digestive system start being strong enough and mature enough that those things start going down. And then there is also things that you could do to help your baby with that digestive system. Then the other one is a tip that I want you to write down, because this is being game changer for me and my mamas. And that is, if your baby is having some of those crying in the afternoon, reaching hour where you know that he's not hungry, that she is not wet, that they are not too warm, they are not too cold, then these are the two hacks. The first one is go outside. Go outside, like take your baby and put them in a carrier, put them in a stroller, and go outside. I will tell you, with Elliot, it was literally magic. Like, I wish I had a video to show you. Elliot was crying uncontrollable. Nothing will calm him down. My husband will pick him up, open the door, the back door, the kitchen door, get out to the back deck, and he will stop crying. And then my husband will bring him back into the house, and he will start crying again. So that is the first one. If your baby is crying without stop, go outside. Go outside, go outside, go for a walk, take in the stroller, go for a nice walk. And then the second one, if you cannot go outside because sometimes it's the middle of a snowstorm, or it's raining, any reason why you cannot go outside, give them a bath. Put warm water between 99 and 102 Fahrenheit, and give them a nice bath, and that water is going to also soothe them and make them feel better. And that witching hour also doesn't stay forever. That witching hour is just for a couple of months, and then as magically as come in, as magically go out of the window, and you never have to worry about that one again. This episode was created to actually show you that there are so many things that we wish we knew, that, and also we wish we had tips and plans to actually know how to handle it, to actually know how to navigate it. And this is special. And I will tell you, this is not especially for first time moms, because that is one of the biggest mistakes. Actually, I will tell you something that is part of my story. When I started working with moms last year, I want to work with first time moms, because they are the ones that don't know what is going on. They are the ones that are getting the surprise. They are the ones that are not sure about what is going on. And I very soon changed that into, I'm working with every mom that is having a baby. The reason for that is because of what I will tell you about babies and the fingers of the hand. Even if you have another baby, that doesn't mean that you will not be handling these situations and these things different with the second baby. Like I was telling you about the sleep, your first baby could be a great sleeper, sleep throughout the night at 3 months old, and then you get your new baby, and your new baby doesn't sleep at all. Breast milk, you could have a great journey with your first baby on breast milk and breastfeeding, and then with your second baby you have a challenge or an issue. Or with your first baby, for any reason, you did formula, and with your second baby, you want to breastfeed breast milk. So the first thing I want to let you know is this is not unique for first time mamas. This is unique for every time that you have a baby, you are a first time mama for that baby, because that baby is going to come with different challenges, with different approaches, with different things to move around. And it's important that you have that right support. It's important that you know that you need to take care of yourself. And one of the things that is beautiful, and one of my coaches shared this, and I want to share this with you, is the concept of putting your oxygen mask first. And that is, that person was in a plane, and the plane had almost like an emergency landing, and the oxygen mask came down. That person was able to witness in the row ahead of them a dad that was fighting with his two children to put the oxygen mask. The children were scared, everybody was screaming, so the children didn't want to put the oxygen mask first. And it was a beautiful example of what I'm telling you, because the only way that the dad was able to keep their babies safe was because he put his oxygen mask first. So he put his oxygen mask first. He was having oxygen, so he was able to wrestle and fight with his kids for 8 minutes until he was able to put the oxygen mask in his kids. If he didn't follow the instruction and didn't put his oxygen mask, he will not be able to help his kids, because then he will actually be passed out before he was able to help them. So it's important that throughout this process, in the pregnancy and in the fourth trimester, even after the fourth trimester, you find ways to put your oxygen mask first, to feel your tank, to calm down, to feel and believe that you are the perfect mom for your baby, that you are doing everything that you need to. Okay. And with that being said, one of the things that I want to invite you to check, if you are reviewing this today and you're like, oh my God, I would love to have this community. I would love to have this opportunity to actually feel supported and feel holding hands and feel that I have somebody that helped me, is I would like to actually invite you to check out the new adventure of MomFit. MomFit, we start the new adventure in 2 weeks. We actually start Monday, the 26th, the new adventure, and that is a group coaching course where me and other mamas are going to be going week by week, going through every single detail of the pregnancy and the fourth trimester, where we are going to be able to actually create that community and that support to make sure that we are thriving and that we are exceeding. If you want to be part of that community, if you want to actually get the support that you need, please go to momfit.us, momfit.us, and sign up. I would love to have you there. I would love to hold your hand and support you throughout the challenge. So actually, you don't feel that you are missing out. So actually, you don't feel that you are making a mistake. So actually, you go and have the pregnancy, the birth, the recovery that you deserve, and that you could actually enjoy bonding with your baby, bonding with your partner, bonding with your new family, and don't have room for that mom guilt and that mom shame and that I wish somebody told me, because then you will not have that. You will have that support with everybody in the MomFit community. We would love to have you there. We would love to be your team to support you. And now, Mama, finishing up the episode now, I want you to take care of you. And I want you to understand that no matter what is going on in your life, in the pregnancy or in the fourth trimester, I want you to know that there is always somebody willing to help. There is always somebody with the answers. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to know who you can ask for the answers. There is always somebody with a hand willing to go with you. So have a wonderful weekend. And this show can also be heard in the Spanglish Radio Network. Please check out www.spanglishworld.ca for all the news and programming. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it.